Ba-da-ba. Welcome to the show, everybody. All right, first, a public service announcement, just because I really care about everybody's safety. A public service announcement. If you're driving today and you have to take I-95, whatever you do, just make sure you keep your eyes peeled, ladies and gentlemen, for a horse. That was one of the coolest videos I've ever seen. I don't know, Angelo something was the guy who put it out there. The media clip, the social media clip of the horse running down I-95 that, from what I understand, escaped from a Strawberry Mansion riding stable and somehow made its way down to 95. So if you're driving on I-95 today, keep your eyes peeled for the horse, just in case another one escaped, just in case this is a mass exodus of the horses. That was one of the coolest things I've ever seen. Like when the wild animals get loose, the ones that aren't really gonna get you too bad, those are always stories that draw my attention. There was a story a couple years ago, I believe it was, of a cow. Was it a cow that escaped a manger scene in Old City, and it was making its way down? I think it was the Columbus Boulevard, Delaware Ave. Like those stories, they're just fun as long as no one gets hurt. They're fun, and no one got hurt here, so. It's fun. So keep your eyes peeled, ladies and gentlemen. There might be a horse on the highway. Other than that, oh boy, do we have a show. We're going to have some fun today. I have to come to grips with something because I hate this, but I have to come to grips with this. The Phillies are done spending. And one of the reasons is I've talked about it, I kind of poo-pooed our friend Mike Fujadamas, who said, hey, what do you think about Whit Merrifield? And I'm like, hogwash and poppycock. I don't need any of that. I don't need it. I want them to go and make sure that they get Cody Bellinger. I want them to make sure they get Jordan Montgomery. I want those guys to be on the Phillies. That's what I want. Looks like that's done. So before we went on the air yesterday, before we did our show yesterday, briefly, but just before, there was a story released by Scott Lauber of Inquirer.com. I have a couple of excerpts from the story that really kind of follow the bouncing ball of where the Phillies are headed and also the mindset of John Middleton. I am a very big John Middleton fan. And I know that it's a more popular route to say, oh, the owner is always an idiot and management always sucks and they could do better. They're doing a lot. And especially when you compare it to maybe if you're like me and you grew up with a Phillies team that really didn't spend money, this is a welcome sight to have an owner that is A, willing to spend money, and B, as intense as many of the Philadelphia Phillies fans that occupy Citizens Bank Park throughout the year, and especially in the postseason. He's a very intense man. We all know the backstory. Grew up in the area, made gazillion dollars with a cigar company, a high school wrestler. You know what I mean? Like we know the backstory and grew up in the area and is a Phillies fan, from birth. So that's great. Also, one of the best interview subjects. I'm not patting myself on the back. He was one of the best interviews I've ever done. Talking to that man, especially about the Eagles winning the Super Bowl and how he wants to do the same thing as an owner, and he wants his bleeping trophy back. And that quote has come up again because apparently John Middleton addressed the team 2 days ago. And by all accounts, it was as intense a speech as you could imagine from John Middleton. I remember last year, Garrett Stubbs had the microphone on and was walking around and talking about how John Middleton really revved up the team. Well, they still had a pretty damn good year. It ended horribly. It crashed and burned at the end of the season. And John Middleton even talked about that with Scott Lauber of the Inquirer. We'll let you see that excerpt in a second. But it just lets you know the mindset of John Middleton, and he is all about that trophy. The unfortunate thing is, since he has taken over as the managing partner of the Philadelphia Phillies ownership group, it hasn't ended with that trophy back at Citizens Bank Park. No matter how many times we refer back to that phenomenal Mike Sealski story that came out years after the events the story depicted, where John Middleton went up to Ryan Howard at Ryan Howard's locker after they lost the 2009 World Series to the New York Yankees. Middleton went over and was like, hey, Ryan, how you doing? And Ryan was, man, not feeling so good. Deep six, big piece, wasn't feeling so good. And he goes, well, I'm not doing too well either, and I want my bleeping trophy back. And then those words have been up there, of course, with words like stupid money with John Middleton. And he seems to be the owner that we have been waiting a long time for in Philadelphia. And when it comes to spending money, he is absolutely going to do that. When it comes to taking into consideration the mindset of the Philadelphia fan, he has that because he is one. And he's one of the few owners that I actually believe when they say, oh, yeah, I'm a fan too. I'm like, oh, yeah, that makes sense. So we'll highlight some of the words from him yesterday. Also, JT Realmuto and John Clark got to talking, and JT Realmuto talked about John Middleton as an owner. And one of the goals here, and I love this, and this is the best way for this to come out, because this was a feeling JT Realmuto got. This wasn't what John Middleton said. Because if John Middleton says this word without having won one championship as the principal owner here of the Phillies, the managing partner, then it gets put in the same light almost as gold standard from Jeffrey Lurie all those years ago. You haven't even won anything yet. You're talking about how you're the gold standard? All right, be fair. It was about, salary cap and all that stuff. And no one wants to hear about you being a gold standard unless you've won championships. The word dynasty was used by JT Realmuto. And it was put out there in the perfect light because, yes, I think every single owner, especially one that's willing to spend money and spend more money and continue to invest in his product like he is with this Philadelphia Phillies team. And we'll talk about the specific numbers about what he's willing to invest in a second. But when it comes to what he's willing to do for his team, yes, I think any owner would want to win multiple championships and have a dynasty under their belt by the time they sell their team or whatever. So JT Realmuto actually used that word. He said you could definitely get the sense that he wants to build a dynasty here. It's like, okay, well, how about we start this year? How about we start with the first of back-to-back championships, of 3 championships in 4 years? How about we start right now? How about that? That starts right now. So we'll give you a sense of what the Phillies' mindset is going into the season, John Middleton's mindset going into this season, and just overall what we can expect from this Phillies squad. We'll also get into the Eagles here. The Eagles, I laughed. Ladies and gentlemen, I got to be honest. I shouldn't do that, but I did. I laughed. The Philadelphia Eagles yesterday made a couple of futures acquisitions. And, I mean, they signed a running back. A third-round running back, to Ryan Davis-Price, third-round pick, 2022. He's played in 7 games in 2 years. Explain to me why. For the life of me, I don't understand why the Eagles even bother with moves like this. All right, I know there's people talking about the possibility of Derrick Henry coming to Philadelphia. I'm not going to get down on it, but I'm not going to get my hopes up. I'm not going to say, oh, don't you dare sign Derrick Henry. No, you can get Derrick Henry. You get Derrick Henry. If you can make that work somehow and still plug the holes you have in your defense, then all right, let's party. I don't see it happening. I don't see huge acquisitions being made by the Eagles, certainly not through free agency. So when you look at these deals, again, these are future deals. Darian Kennard's another one, a tackle out of Kansas City that they're bringing in as well, a 5th-round pick. I look at this, and I'm looking at like these are, again, futures deals. So they're not in the same light at all of a Rashad Penny, for instance. But in that same light, you look at a guy like Trey Sermon. They let Trey Sermon go this past season before the year and kept Rashad Penny. And Rashad Penny was active for 3 games maybe this year. Rashad Penny had a phenomenal yards per carry average. Phenomenal in the times that he actually, played where he wasn't hurt. And, one of the best in the NFL, if not the best in the NFL yards per carry in games he actually played. And he barely touched the football. Trey Sermon gets let go and actually does a pretty decent job there in Indianapolis. Get some playing time at least in Indianapolis. Why should I look at running back being acquired by the Eagles in any free agency, futures deals, whatever, and I'm just like, oh, that's nice. Just filling a roster spot, I guess. And that's all it is. I know some people get excited about every little thing the Eagles do about, what that could mean. Nah, you're good. You're good. There's nothing here. Just it's checking a box. And I keep thinking about Rashad Penny and at least what he kind of what his numbers promise. Some good things you heard about him coming out of Seattle, things you heard about him during training camp, players, coaches, what they were saying about him. And it's like, wow, you let go of Trey Sermon and you kept Rashad Penny and you never used Rashad Penny. So there's no excitement here. I think I know how the story ends this year with the Philadelphia Eagles with the running back position here. And by the way, yesterday you could start the franchise tag. We'll go over some of the numbers there because they're bonkers. Franchise tag window is open. But I think the Eagles, the only thing that they do when it comes to adding a running back this year, I think they go young. I think, yeah, you'll see them bring in a veteran guy. I don't know who that guy is yet, but a guy who's got mileage on him. Certainly not Davis Price here, but they're going to add somebody to this backfield that's got some miles on him. But I think mainly you're going to be looking at Kenny Gainwell and a rookie. I think you're going to have a very young backfield for the Eagles. It's not something Kellen Moore really likes to highlight. No. It's not something he likes to highlight. And it's also something that apparently Jalen Hurts just doesn't want to do. Like throwing to running backs, I mean. So even if you do want to have a decent running back, also, I've said this many times, but for those that haven't heard it, DeAndre Swift coming to Philadelphia again, being back in Philadelphia for an extended period of time, getting contract extended, I don't see that happening either. I don't think it's something that the Eagles really want to feature. And as we know at this point, it's not something that they're willing to commit to anyway. And they're happy, they're fine and dandy, apparently, with their quarterback being one of their best runners above their running backs. Odd, but true. So I see them even make an acquisition like this, and I just think, all right. They're checking a box. They're filling a roster spot. Better to do that than not, I guess. But the way I think this ends is DeAndre Swift isn't here, and your two leading running backs are Kenny Gainwell and someone who isn't here yet. Whether that be a rookie taken in the second round, third round, whatever the case may be, I think it's Kenny Gainwell and someone who's not on the roster yet. That's the way I see that shaking out. But look, they got to keep doing their due diligence throughout the offseason, and this is just the tip of the iceberg when you're talking about futures deals. You're not supposed to expect anything out of futures deals. So that's the way they're looking at it right now. Something else we'll get into on today's show. I saw this yesterday, and I thought it was beautiful. There's something very guarded about players while they're playing for a coach in every single sport. The one I'm talking about here is basketball with J.J. Redick and Doc Rivers. And Doc Rivers will forever be a name here in Philadelphia that Glenn Rivers, if you will always just kind of go, oof. Just like, oof. He was one of the guys in the post-process era, the actual process, not Joel Embiid, in the post-process era, that were given the keys to the kingdom and failed. Now, he is one of those people that I look at with Brian Colangelo, Jerry Colangelo, Elton Brand having the keys for a little bit, Brett Brown having the keys for about 20 minutes and still managing to mess up Zaire Smith and the McCall Bridges. What? And one of the guys that was brought in was Doc Rivers. You needed to bring in somebody that could possibly fix, as we've talked about before, the Ben Simmons fiasco, get this Sixers team over the hump, and get them into the Eastern Conference Finals, get them into a championship finals, get them into the NBA Finals, win a championship. That was what he was brought in to do. The Ben Simmons fiasco could not have ended worse. Failing in 2 Game 7s in the second round of the playoffs could not have ended worse. Couldn't even tap into Ben Simmons to have him do what he's most comfortable doing after passing, which is dunking a basketball. Went up in flames. And every single time we heard these excuses from Doc Rivers. I mean, after the fact, he said he tried to, I wasn't throwing Ben Simmons under the bus. Somebody asked me a question of whether or not, he could continue to go with Ben Simmons as a point guard. And he said he didn't know. I don't know. I didn't know anything at that point. That was how he defended it. No, at that moment in time, you were the most honest you've ever been. The stuff about, would you ask Pop that question from our friend Austin Krell? Would you ask Pop that question? Well, probably because he, like you, is a head coach. And even if I wouldn't ask Pop that question, he's got 5 championships. You have 1. You're not the same. Not the same resume there. And my favorite excuse of all of them, this was a scheduled loss. This is a scheduled loss. The NBA set it up where we were going to lose no matter what. Instead of accepting the challenge in front of you and going, all right, this is what they said. We got to win no matter what. No excuses. You went, oh, no, I got the excuse ready to go. I looked at the schedule, and this was a scheduled loss. So many back-to-back games, playing so many in a short amount of time, traveling the way we were. This was a scheduled loss. Okay. Well, yesterday, I should start with this. If you remember the game a year ago, where Blake Griffin of the Brooklyn Nets went off, and I want to say he hit. No, I'm sorry, excuse me. He was with the Celtics. He hit, I think it was 8 threes in the game. against the Sixers, and the Sixers failed to make any adjustments to do this thing where they cover a guy who's red hot, like Blake Griffin was in that game. And Doc Rivers didn't make any adjustments to cover Blake Griffin. And Blake Griffin, after the game, when he was asked about, hey, so what were they doing to try to stop you? And he was like, pretty much, and I'm paraphrasing, nothing. It's kind of been a thing where you don't make adjustments. And he was clearly talking about Doc Rivers, who he played for, as we all know, with the LA Clippers. So that was the first time I heard like an active player really go in on Doc Rivers. I mean, we had heard some things about the Clippers and personalities that Doc Rivers was trying to manage in his last year out there in LA and how it really wasn't working out. And it was time for him to move on. He moved on and he came to the Sixers. And I had hope. I wanted Doc Rivers. I wanted that authoritative figure. But that was the first time I heard with Blake Griffin, a player in the moment, an active player, kind of calling out Doc for a lot of the things that we as fans and we as a fan base were calling Doc Rivers out for already. So I tell you all that to highlight J.J. Redick yesterday on ESPN going in on Doc Rivers about accountability, and it's never his fault. And that's what J.J. Redick said. There's always an excuse. It's not Doc, it's the players. And if you ask him about, hey, Doc, what about you? Players. It's never you. Never accountable. He's never held accountable. Well, the Sixers will say this much. They held him accountable. Eventually, the Clippers, they held him accountable as well. So at least the ownership group at some point, upper management holds him accountable. And when they decide pushes come to shove, they move on from him. And that's happened for Doc Rivers more than once in his career. And it's going to happen again here with the Milwaukee Bucks, who are absolutely terrible. So then, after J.J. Redick goes out there and talks about, the time that he played for Doc Rivers and how there is never accountability, holding himself accountable, Austin Rivers, Glenn Rivers' son, is on. I think it was an NBA Today or NBA Insider, whatever it was. And he defends his father. And he says, I give him credit for at least acknowledging this. Look, my dad is my dad. He can defend himself. He's a grown man. I don't need to defend him. But the thing that Austin Rivers used, and he went back to time and time again to defend Glenn Rivers, was he's never accountable, but he's always responsible. Those aren't the same thing. Other people will hold you responsible and hold you accountable. You have to be the one that holds yourself responsible and yourself accountable. That's what we're talking about. We're not talking about Josh Harris and Daryl Morey holding him accountable. We're not talking about Steve Ballmer holding him accountable and making him responsible. We're not talking about that. We're talking about Glenn Doc Rivers holding himself accountable and making himself responsible for why a team fails. Now, look, ultimately, does that make the players totally absolved of any wrongdoing? Absolutely not. But when we talk about the players, we talk about the players. When we talk about the coach, we talk about the coach. I mean, I haven't pulled any punches with Joel Embiid. I've held him accountable. James Harden, in his own right, I've held him accountable. Fan bases like Philadelphia hold players accountable. We don't ignore the coach, just like we don't ignore the players. A guy like Doc Rivers is always going to be held accountable in a city like Philadelphia. It's up to him to hold himself accountable and make himself responsible. Take some responsibility for why things failed. And that's what always seems to evade him. Whether it's throwing a player under the bus, well, how dare you ask me such a question about what did I do wrong tonight? How dare you? Talking about his players getting blown out now that he's with the Bucks. I didn't realize this. I heard Stephen A. in the same snippet there with J.J. Redick. I didn't realize this. I didn't realize Doc Rivers took a job as an advisor with the Bucks. So was he like waiting in the wings this whole time? Like, yeah, I can't wait for this to fail. I'll get back into coaching somehow. That's my spot on. For the people on the podcast, you probably just heard it, but just so you know, that wasn't Doc Rivers who just said that. That was me doing an impression. I know it was spot on, but there you go. So to me, he never holds himself accountable. And I agree entirely with J.J. Redick. One of the things I would talk about Doc Rivers towards the end here in Philly was like, I wish he had a little bit of that NFL coach in him. I got to do a better job of putting my players in a better position to make plays. That's what I wish. I was like, I craved for, just give me one cliche Andy Reid quote other than time yours. Give me one cliche Andy Reid quote where you take responsibility for something to happen. I had to laugh. When people try to really BS you, you either get mad or you laugh. And I tend to be one that I'm not nice when I'm angry. So I tend to laugh because I can downshift into that pretty easy. And when he went on the Save the Ben Simmons era in Philadelphia campaign, where he went on ESPN, it was like, I didn't know. Could he be a point guard? I didn't know. I didn't know anything at that time. We just lost. I didn't mean that. I even called Ben and told him that. I give Ben Simmons at least the credit for not being a total idiot and being like, oh, okay, I got that explains it. But I loved what I heard from JJ Redick, because you want to hear those players validate how you feel as a fan and as a fan base, because those are the people that have really been there. We're talking about it, even media members talking about it from the outside looking in. When you hear it from a player who lived it, you go, I'm not crazy. Thank goodness. Thank you for validating how I feel. Thank you for validating. So listen to JJ Redick yesterday go off on that. Was beautiful. And listening to Austin Rivers, defend his father, defend Doc Rivers. Fine. I thought he moved the goalposts a little bit. I think he missed the point. He's always held accountable. He's always held responsible. Yeah, but the guys that fired him, we're talking about him. Talking about him. Good God. Good God, people. We got a couple other things we're going to get into. Real quick, before I get into these Inquirer excerpts about your man, John Middleton. Franchise tag window. Okay. Chris Jones of the Kansas City Chiefs, $32 million for a defensive tackle. And one more number I wanted to get out there. Mike Evans. Did you see his franchise tag? $28.4 million. I know everybody wants a nice long-term contract, but imagine doing something you love to do, and at the end of that year, or at least throughout the process of that year, your manager, your boss hands you a check that at the end of the year equals $28.4 million. I mean, okay. Not bad. Saquon Barkley also obviously up. T. Higgins obviously up. Josh Allen with the Jaguars obviously up. Those are just a couple of names there that are up throughout this process. The Saquon Barkley thing is going to be interesting. I've seen a couple of people link him to the Dallas Cowboys, which would be just as a middle finger to the Giants. It'd be fun. And also knowing if he went to the Cowboys, knowing he'd be wasted there, that's kind of fun too. So, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and root for that. I just really hope that Mike Evans does not end up anywhere near the NFC East. That's what I'm going to hope for. Because even though the Eagles had some success against him in game 1 of the season, he's still a pretty damn good wide receiver, and I would not want him anywhere near Dak Prescott, for instance. And I don't think they're going that direction. I think if they do anything, they're going to go with running back. Higgins pretty damn good. Look, the Eagles, I think, are going to be fine offensively speaking. Yes, I think Kellen Moore is going to be a huge difference maker. Yes, as I've said many times before, I think Jalen Hurts is going to bounce back. Even if they kept Brian Johnson, I feel like, I know, hot take. I feel like Jalen Hurts is good enough where he's going to take a step forward in the upcoming season. Even if they kept Brian Johnson for one more year. I think he's that good where he could overcome it in a second year. So that's just a couple of things that we're going to be looking at and following with the franchise tag window open in the NFL. All right, let's get to these comments here. This is from Scott Lauber's article that came out yesterday morning of your boy, John Middleton. This is the first one from the Inquirer. If you're using the phrase get over it, as in the Phillies losing in the playoffs the way they have, or losing in the World Series the way they have, if you're using the phrase get over it, it'll never happen. I mean, 2009, 2010, 2011, they still hurt. You don't get a second chance to win that year. To be up 2-0 in the NLCS like they were last year, going into Arizona, a place like Arizona, where you took 3 out of 4 in August and lose 2 out of 3, then lose 2 at home. When you have your foot on your enemy's throat, you kill them. And we didn't do it. If I just would have read you that quote and not said who it was attributed to, You would say, well, what fan said that? Well, it's the guy that happens to sign the checks. It's your billionaire owner, John Middleton. That's the guy who said it. If you don't want that type of mentality in your ownership group, I don't know what to tell you, because I think it's just the right amount of fandom. And I know people will get mad at Nick Sirianni. They'll get mad at Bryce Harper. They might get mad at John Middleton for pandering to us a little too much. Oh, they're pandering. No. Pander. If that's pandering, fine. I don't think it's pandering. I think that's a genuine article there. No pun intended with it being an article. I think it's a genuine article from John Middleton for that to be his mindset. That's very genuine. If you step on your enemy's throat, you kill him. And we didn't do that. And I think everybody felt like that watching the series last year. Then this one was great too. This is about spending money. One of the things I've always said is I intend to win. I intend to push the envelope to win. Breaking the quote here. Stupid money? Yes, stupid money. He goes on to say, there's different ways you could push the envelope, though. And spending is just one of those ways. I never thought about it quite like he phrased the question. Apparently, he was asked about, it's going over the luxury tax so much. Never thought about the way, breaking the luxury tax. It's always been about, is this player a difference maker? Okay, so you're reading the article, and you're thinking to yourself, okay, is this player? Okay, well, hold on. You want to bring in Kyle Schwarber? Oh, you want to bring in Nick Castellanos? You want to re-sign Aaron Nola? You want to now renegotiate, or you want to sign a long-term deal with Zach Wheeler? You want to bring in Trey Turner? You want to bring in Bryce Harper? Is this player a difference maker? Yes. These guys are difference makers. They're certainly going to help your team win now and in the future. So it's not about the luxury tax, which, by the way, I said earlier that we were going to get into the specific numbers here. Holy Stromboli, ladies and gentlemen. According to Scott Lauber here, the Phillies are projected to surpass $260 million in payroll this year. That puts them in the second-tier threshold and boosts their rate for the luxury tax at 62%. The Mets, the Yankees, the Dodgers, and Scott Lauber points out possibly the Braves will have a higher payroll than the Philadelphia Phillies. So look, I grew up in an era where we were hearing about Philadelphia being a small market. Is it New York? No. Is it LA? No, obviously not. Is it even Chicago? But the Cubs or the White Sox certainly aren't in this conversation right now. But Philly, with John Middleton and this ownership group willing to spend money, has finally acknowledged Philadelphia as the market it should be, which is a top-tier market. And when you look at the spending here, $260 million, and you're talking about the Mets, Yankees, and Dodgers, and maybe the Braves spending that much money to win, that makes you feel pretty damn good. That makes you think about pushing the envelope. Multiple ways to push the envelope. You just talk about spending money. Yeah, they're willing to spend money, and some of it might be stupid money. As John Middleton said. But talking about, okay, all right, fine. We're going to go over the luxury tax a little bit more. All right, hear me out or answer my question. Is this player a difference maker? Yes. Where's my checkbook? So you're reading the article. You're following the bouncing ball. All right, well, all right. Is this player a difference maker? Cody Bellinger. Jordan Montgomery. Yeah, they're difference makers. And then here comes the wah, wah, wah. In talking to Dave Dombrowski, John Middleton said, what Dave decided we do, and I agree with him, is save the powder. Huh? He said, if you don't spend it now, this is what Middleton said, Dave said, if you don't spend it now, you can always spend it in July and maybe make a better, more aggressive trade. And you've got the money to pay for it. So in essence, what they're saying is, look, you have a pretty good lineup right now. You have a pretty good rotation right now. You have a bullpen. They're there. They're good. Hopefully. Yeah. Let's see how this plays out. We might be okay right now. Things are going to come up throughout the season. You hate to acknowledge it, but it happens with every team. Certain players miss time. Injuries happen. There's a physical, grueling schedule of 162 games, blah, blah, blah. You know the cliches. Somebody's going to go down. Somebody's going to tweak a hammy. Somebody's going to roll an ankle. Somebody's going to sprain their wrist. Something's going to happen throughout the season where significant players are going to miss time. Be ready for those moments. And then see how the club's coming together, see what you need, and then spend. Because you'll have another opportunity to do it. Unlike going back to 2009, 2010, 2011, where you can't go back and change the outcome of those days, those games, that World Series, those playoff runs, you might be able to have a reset in July. Oh, we're right around 500 or 10 games over 500, but the Braves are 15 games over 500, and we might need a little bit of this in the outfield. We might need a little of this in the infield. Oh, we lost a player over here. Oh, our bullpen's not doing what we thought. Our rotation's not doing what we thought they would do. We need to add more pitching by the time the playoffs roll around. Spend the money then. And then you have that playoff push. That's what you can do. You have some flexibility here because you've already spent a lot of money. Yeah, you already spent a couple of bucks here. New York market and LA, pretty much only people outspending you. That's pretty good. You're doing pretty good. You're doing pretty good as far as that goes. So if you're John Middleton, you could take a minute. Now, here's something that gave you a little insight to what happened when John Middleton addressed the team this year. John Clark down there in spring training for NBC Sports Philadelphia put this out on his Twitter with JT Realmuto. And he asked JT Realmuto about John Middleton's attitude around his ball club.
It was basically go get the trophy back. John gave a pretty heartfelt, pretty emotional speech that brought up the championship years, but also the years that they just missed, and some conversations that he had with players back then, and he just kind of reiterated what he said to them, and it was pretty passionate and pretty inspiring.
It's pretty much like, hey, we're putting together a team for the last couple of years to get it done. It's time.
Basically, yeah, and also it's time for the long haul. It's not just this year. Like, he's wanting to build a dynasty and a team that can win for a long time, and we believe that's what he's done.
That was a little low on the volume. If you didn't hear that, I apologize. But dynasty. We know about the intensity. We know about how John Middleton is, blah, blah, blah. But the idea of it's not just like I want to win a championship. I don't want just to get my trophy back just for now. I would like other trophies that this franchise has won over the years, two of them. I would like those trophies to have company. I got twins. I would like triplets. I want quadruplets. I want septuplets. I want heptuplets. I want to be octomom of the World Series trophies. That's what I want. Hearing a player talk about their ownership group, like about dynasties, that gets me excited. That gets me excited because they're not, hey, we have no expectations. We just love you for who you are, and we really love this team. We no expect. Just go out there and do your thing. No. You set a bar, damn it. There's too much money involved. There's too much emotion invested by the fan base. No. There's no, just go out there and try. That's what separates us from so many other cities. So many other cities, I always say this. So many other cities are that, nurturing mother type of fan. Or they're like, oh, you lost. It's okay. Here's a juice box and an orange peel. You know what I mean? Go get them tomorrow. That kind of thing. Where in Philly, we're more of the strict father. Like, well, you lost? Go take a lap. Take a lap, that kind of thing. Go to your room, whatever the case may be. We're more, that kind of more identifies with us as a fan base. Set the bar. Let us know what the expectations are. There's nothing better than a boss that's just totally honest with you. Look, this is that. Tell it like it is. John Middleton does that with this team. It lets them know exactly what's at stake. And you know what? If other teams didn't have the chemistry that the Phillies had, some other teams might crumble in that moment and say, all right, well, this is too much. I don't think the Phillies are like that. I don't think the Phillies, talking about mindset, I don't think the Phillies have that type of mindset. You talk all the time, and I referenced it yesterday, the Nick Castellanos quote about, he's been playing baseball for 28 years. It was 31 years on this planet. And if you don't have a good chemistry in the clubhouse, your chances of winning are zero. This team at least has that. It's what helps them at least get through a season and then get ready to go when the playoffs start. And then, unfortunately, crash and burn with like 2 games left. But hey, at least they get to that point. Now they're just going to find a way to get over that hump. Maybe the way to get over that hump is adding at the trade deadline. Maybe a way to get over that hump is maybe something shifts in the Cody Bellinger negotiations or search to find a landing spot. Maybe that changes with Jordan Montgomery. Maybe that changes with Blake Snell. Maybe it changes. But as of right now, that doesn't seem to be the path that the Phillies are going. It seems like right now, according to this quote from the Scott Lauber story at Inquirer.com, the Phillies are going to stand pat for now. and this is after bringing in Whit Merrifield. I can live with that. But as far as dynasty goes, let's go to 1. Let's get 1. And then we'll worry about, again, 3 and 4 years. That's what we'll get to. That's what I'll hope for. Let me tell you guys about the great people at the Game Time app. Hey, I was on that shoot yesterday for Greatest Sports Legends, Then and Now, with Greg Murphy, Wes Hall, Steve Rothfeld Productions. Was on the shoot yesterday. Somebody was telling me about concert tickets they got. And I said, oh, yeah, where'd you get them? And they said, oh, the Game Time app. I said, oh, what? The Game Time app. And I said, oh, how about that? I said, did you buy the tickets? They go, no, my brother. They go, next time you do, create an account, use promo code Farzy, and you get $20 off your first purchase at the Game Time app. That's right. Even away from the show, I plug my sponsors. Go and use the Game Time app. Download it to your phone. Get $20 off your first purchase. Also, enjoy the Game Time guarantee. Whereas if you find tickets somewhere else, same section, same row for less money on another ticketing site, another ticketing app, Game Time app gets you back at 110% of the difference. So the guaranteed lowest price. So that right there is the Game Time guarantee. Also, flash ticket deals, last-minute ticket deals for an hour after the event starts. So you might miss an opening act. You might miss the middle performer, whatever the case may be. You'll still see the headliner with the Game Time app. Download the Game Time app to your phone. Use promo code Farzy, and you get $20 off your first purchase with the Game Time app. Oh, how about my bookie? You want to bet on all the action? Sixers return to action tomorrow. Flyers got the trade deadline coming up in 2.5 weeks. You can bet on it all with MyBookie, mybookie.ag. Use promo code Farzy at mybookie.ag, and you'll get up to $1,000 redeemable cash bonus at mybookie.ag. That's mybookie.ag. Maybe betting on the world of sports ain't your thing. You want to bet on the world of politics? What? Yeah, you can bet on politics. You want to bet on the world of television? Who ends up with who? You do it right there. And MyBookie, mybookie.ag. Take advantage of all they have to offer at MyBookie, mybookie.ag. Let's get to the chat check and see how you wonderful people are doing this morning. Fujinamis, what's going on, sir? Nice to see you. Tessie77. Morning, Farzy. Laugh Out Loud saw the horse yesterday. My friend was on 95 driving. We rode right past it. What? That is a dream scenario for me, just to be like, what the? Is that a horse on 95? I marvel at animals. Animals are so awesome. Like I told you guys about the deer we get in the backyard, right? Since I moved out to the boonies, we got the deer in the backyard, the bucks. We had like 3 bucks in our backyard. I just marvel at animals. And Lil Toots, man, she loves them too. She loves it. Good morning, Kevin. Nice to see you. T-Bro, what's going on, man? I always hated when my horse gets out. Chase those heifers for miles. I do love horses. I don't know where the video is, but I should play the video of me on the horse in Colorado. Sean Gillespie, good morning. IBH, good morning. What's going on? Hello. Sean Gillespie. I wish the Eagles would value I was like, is there a running back I don't know the name of? Running back position. I wish they value the running back position, but I'll put it to you like this. Here's the thing. I don't even want him. I don't even want him to value the position. Let's start with using the position. Can we get to that spot? Can we get to that point where the Eagles just use the position? That's it. And then they'll value it. After that, they'll value it. I hope. Fam Duck. What's going on, Sean? Oh, get him. Is that what you're saying? Get him? Okay, thank you. Darian Kennard drafted by the Chiefs. Yep, 5th round. He's a futures guy. I don't have any. My thoughts on it are, okay, that happened. Famed comedian Louis C.K. Talks about the word hilarious. It's like, I saw Lisa yesterday. Oh, that's hilarious. Like, that's not hilarious. You know what I mean? Like, here's what should happen. I saw Lisa yesterday. That happened. That's how I feel about the Eagles making these 2 acquisitions, signing them to futures deals. That happened. Look, the offensive line depth, I'm not excited about this. I'll be excited about what they do in the draft. If they add offensive linemen in the draft, I'm a little bit more excited about that. I'm not over the moon or anything. It's like that happened. And, of course, Duck won his ring. It was all him and not his all-stars, Sean Gillespie. Yeah. Stephen Ike, morning. Morning to you, sir. That whole Buck situation is just slimy? You talking about the Buck cousins? And I don't understand what's slimy about it. Huh. Not the fact that it's not, I forget the gentleman's first name. It's not Middleton, it's Middleman. I think that's the second guy that came in and bought some of the assets away from the Buck cousins. Ryan Davis Price, yeah. This must have been before I talked about it, but same thing. That happened. Love Middleton even more, speaking what every fan felt last year. Sean, absolutely agree. Sean Gillespie, I agree. IBH, Middleton quote sounds like something Buddy Ryan would have said. Outstanding. Definitely. Mike Fuji, throwing it back to the Hindu Kush. Ladies and gentlemen. Good morning, all. B.I. Sanchez. What's going on? Whit Merrifield gives the Phillies depth. I'd like the Phillies dynasty soon. Yeah, me too. I agree. Yep. I look, it's a good signing. I'm not mad. I am not mad. Not mad at all that they brought in Whit Merrifield. He's a very good ball player. He's a perfect, he can play everywhere, and his mindset is perfect. If you didn't see what he said about what he wants to do on this Phillies team for this year, it's worth a listen. It's just about winning. I just want to win. I've been an all-star. I've led the league in hits. Now it's time to win a championship. Now it's time to win a World Series. I just want to win. I'll be a cheerleader on the bench if that's what this team asks of me. Okay. I love that. And then on the other side of it, because you might read that as, okay, this guy is 35 years old. It's all gravy from this point. His heart's not in it as much. Well, according to Dave Dombrowski, what he told Rob Thompson, when Rob Thompson and those two had a conversation, I think this was even before the contract was signed, Rob Thompson said, when he was asked about the role, Rob Thompson said, well, look, it's going to be 2 to 3, 4 to 3, or excuse me, 3 to 4, maybe 4 to 5 games at various positions. But Merrifield, yeah, sure, that's fine. But I'm going to show you in the opportunities you give me that I am worthy of more opportunities. I'm buying what you're selling. Don't make me regret it. I'm buying what you're selling. That's the exact attitude you want any player. No doubt about it. April. Morning, April. Tessie 77. Farzy. I've seen, by the way, my in-law's dog's name is Tessie. This is funny to me. Farzy, are you Tessie? Good girl? You a good girl? Farzy, I've seen turkeys running loose free in North Philly. Never got that. A lot of cats. Going to Temple, a lot of cats. A few dogs, unfortunately. I say unfortunately because people weren't taking care of them. Texting in the cold with autocorrect. That's funny. Sean Kilrain. Oh, okay. Eric Smith runs a blazing 4.32 40-yard dash. Really? No, I did not see that. Eric Smith, I'll keep an eye out. Eagles are going to add corner depth. Eagles are going to add a running back. Eagles are going to add offensive line depth. Those are all, I think, guarantees you have in this draft coming up here. Milwaukee Bucks, Blimey with Duck. Blimey? Slimy. Now we're making sense here. That's great. Matt Chat Sports, what's going on? Jacob 100, what's going on? 4-3, that's fast. That is fast. 4-3-2, by the way. That's the low 4-3s. That is pretty damn fast. Yeah, I'll take it. Look, I was just having this conversation with somebody yesterday, and I'm sure you guys have had this conversation as well. This is Howie's season. It's now Howie's job to make me feel a lot better about the next couple of months and get me excited for football season. I would love to see that happen before the draft. I would love to see that happen well before the draft. I need a nice warm hug from this Eagles team. think about what we've been through as a fan base with this Eagles team over this year. Most of these wins weren't pretty, as I've pointed out many times. A year ago, this Eagles team won 6 games by 10 or more points. Those are controlled games. Those are 2-score games. You're winning those games semi-comfortably. You had a good point differential, unlike the horrible point differential you had this year, okay? But you go into this, the last game, you go into the final run of the season, that gauntlet, right? You're winning some games. You beat the Bills. Before that, you beat the Chiefs. You're feeling pretty good about yourself. You play a lot of snaps, but you're feeling pretty good. You know the biggest test coming into town is going to be the 49ers, but at least you have that game at home. And then you could not have wet the bed more. You could not have wet the bed more than you did against the 49ers. Then you don't even score a touchdown offensively against the Cowboys. And then you think you're going to bounce back against the Seahawks? You choke that game away. Jalen Hurts, horrible decision-making in that fourth quarter. You barely get by the Giants. You lose to Jonathan Gannon in a game where Jonathan Gannon just basically pantsed you and said, I'm going to attempt an onside kick here because you can't beat me. You're not going to stop my offense. You're going to do something stupid. I'm going to get the ball back, march right down the field, and win. And that's what they did. That's what happened. I double dog dare you to put us out of our misery and score on this onside kick, failed onside kick. You didn't. You got the ball back, march down the field. You won. And then think about this. You go into the Meadowlands game. Odds are it's not going to matter, but still it mattered a little bit, depending on what happened with the Commanders and the Cowboys. You still have a chance to win the NFC East. You not only lay an egg, but with Marcus Mariota, whose contract was voided yesterday by the Eagles, with Marcus Mariota, you still get blitz after blitz after blitz from Wink Martindale. So at least that as a coaching staff gives you a preview, a chance to make adjustments for the following week against Todd Bowles and the Buccaneers, who you know are going to be doing a lot of the same things, at least in the terms of aggressiveness, that Wink Martindale was just doing. And what do you do? What do you do? What do you do? You learn nothing from it. You wet the bed against the Giants, then you wet the bed against the Buccaneers. It's a lot of bedwetting to end the season. That's not how you want to go through a gauntlet. Not at all. But that's what happened. So now with that ride, 10-1 to off the face of the earth, now you're in a position where you need that hug from Howie. You need to do something special. I think the best that we can hope for, and it is good, and Sean Kilrain, this is one that you've referenced more than a couple of times. It's the Patrick Surtain deal. Would you bring in Patrick Surtain for 2 first-round picks? Because I'm doing that. You're going to be solid at one cornerback position at least. I would do that. 24 years old, still on a rookie deal. It makes a lot of sense. I would do that deal. With that deal, with this coaching staff, at least this year, one of those first-round picks is, still going to be a first-round pick, don't get me wrong, but you're going to be looking at a 30th overall pick. Don't get me wrong, that's still pretty damn good. But you're going to be pretty set at the cornerback position. You have Patrick Surtain playing for the Eagles next year. So I would do that deal. I think that is a deal that would get a lot of people excited about the upcoming season. And nothing, to use John Middleton's words, are going to make you get over what happened last year with the Philadelphia Eagles and the way it ended. But at least it'll make you look forward to a little bit more optimism you could have for the upcoming season. And that's what I'll cross my fingers for. The plan is for Jacob to be doing a draft show again, yeah. Pats and Red Sox in shambles. Wait a minute. Go Celtics? Go Celtics as in you hope the Pats and the Red Sox are in shambles and then the Celtics are right behind them? Or are you saying go Celtics as if you're a Celtics fan? You tell me that, Mad Chat Sports. Oh, Tavern. That's great. Will Jacob team Rockets to draft this year? That's the goal. Pooped. Yeah, they pooped the bed. Oh, is that an auto-corrected, Jacob? That's funny. Epic collapse. Yep. It's not pretty. None of it's pretty. Hey, look, Thanks everyone in the chat. You guys are wonderful as per usual. Let's get to the morning rush brought to you by Sky Motorcars, SkyMotorcars.com. Also, don't forget about our great friends, ladies and gentlemen, our great friends. Our great, they're wonderful friends at PHL Sports Nation, Philadelphia Sports Nation, enhancing your Philadelphia sports fan experience across all social media and blogs. That's PHLSportsNation.com. So yesterday I was watching, I want to make sure I get this in here. Yesterday, because I know I talked about it on this show. But yesterday, Gene Peters Baker, this is for our morning rush. Gene Peters Baker, the Jackson County prosecutor for Kansas City, charging both men who apparently started this argument in Kansas City during the parade and led to the shooting with murder for Lisa Lopez Galvan, who was the one person that died during the Kansas City parade shooting. Apparently this started over an argument. Here's what's amazing about this. Started over an argument. Both men drew firearms. Mays, the defendant Mays, drew his firearm first. And then others around him pulled their firearms. I didn't read that like Mays was with a group of people all with him, all carrying guns. I read that as, oh, this is Kansas City. Everyone's got a gun. That's what I read. I was like, next time I'm in Kansas City, I'm going to be a little bit more polite. But apparently that's how this all started. But both adults that pulled their firearms first, Mays and then Miller. And Miller's firearm is the one that allegedly hit Miss Lopez Galvan. Both are being charged for murder in this case. So that was a little bit of the breaking news that came out yesterday from the prosecutor in Kansas City there. Sorry, I must have hit something that made that go up on the screen. I apologize. Thanks everybody in the chat. You guys are wonderful as per usual. Oh, okay. Mad Chat Sports Tavern. I'm a homer. Bleed green. Celtics are legit. Sox and Pats are awful. Easy enough. Tessie, prayers up. Prayers up, absolutely. Thanks, everybody, for today. Great talking to you guys. Really appreciate it. I have one more shoot day of Greatest Sports Legends Then and Now. But I'll be back with you guys tomorrow morning again to break it all down, whatever we can get into here. I do want to focus on how Howie can give us that hug. Tomorrow we'll talk about that. When it comes to revving up to the full offseason, not just franchise tags, but full-blown offseason for the Eagles, what to expect from Howie Roseman, what's realistic. And we'll get into that for tomorrow's show regarding your Philadelphia Eagles. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. You guys are wonderful as per usual. My name is Mark Farzetta. This is the Farzy Show, presented by MyBookie, mybookie.ag. See you guys tomorrow. Bye.